Hello, 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 hello. This is Beverly Fells Jones, your Silver Fox of Consciousness, coming to you today for Manifesting Napoleon Hill Tuesday. So, first thing I have to do, I've been brewing my coffee and it's early in the morning today. And so I just finally got it there, and just so if you love coffee or tea or whatever, let's get that started for you. In the meantime, let's get started. I had to pause the video there for a second. So, Napoleon Hill Tuesday. So over the last several weeks, we talked about who Napoleon Hill was and what he wasn't. We have discussed the preface to his book, Think and Grow Rich, and how brilliant it was written. So if you haven't done that, I will, somewhere around here, I'll put the link to that. Probably at the end of this video if I don't figure out a way to do it now. So, for that. And then I next talked about Edwin C. Barnes. Now, Edwin C. Barnes was the very first story Napoleon Hill told in his book, Think and Grow Rich, in chapter 1. Well, I'm skipping out of Think and Grow Rich this week because there's some important things that I've been learning and following his writings. And one of the things that I follow or I read is the correspondence course that he wrote in 1928. Or at least the copyright is on at 1928. So let's assume it was before that, but he was teaching these things. And that correspondence course was called The Law of Success. Now, as I study more Think and Grow Rich, I realize that as I study the law of success, that Think and Grow Rich kind of came from what he taught in the law of success, but was placed condensed in a book. Well, there are things in the law of success that Napoleon Hill really does not talk about in Think and Grow Rich. And so one of those things is actually two, I'm going to share with you today. Well, the one I think he talks about. Anyway, I'm going to share that with you today because talking about Edwin C. Barnes and his definiteness of purpose and his vision and his tunnel vision in going after what he wanted is extremely important. But also there are things that we need to do in order to succeed. Now, a few years ago, well, probably 20 or more, Stephen Covey wrote The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And it was a very big, huge bestseller, and it created a whole industry and business from just that book. Same thing with Think and Grow Rich, but not exactly for Napoleon Hill, but for Napoleon Hill organization or his foundation. Right. So today, where is it? Let me make sure I get it there. Law of Success, Lesson 4, The Habit of Saving. This is one of the things I preach to my kids. I preach to youngsters, oldsters, everyone about, what do I need to do? What needs to be done? And I'm going to find my notes and I'm going to read you a couple of statistics. All right, let's see. Got my notes up. One of the things that I've noticed with video sometimes is the way people look down in the videos. Well, they look down in the video instead of looking up at the camera because we're looking at ourselves talk. Anyway, so I digress. You know, I do that kind of stuff. All right. So here's the statistics for today. I went and looked these up because it's always awesome how the universe, infinite intelligence, always puts in front of me things that I'm going to need. And yesterday and Sunday, I was going through some things and up pops this article. And I go, okay, I know what I have to talk about this Tuesday. So here's what popped up in my universe. Okay. Approximately 26% of adults have no savings set aside for emergencies, while another 36% have yet to start socking away money for retirement. So who are you? Where are you in this whole picture? Okay, so 26% of adults have no savings set aside for emergencies. Is that you? And I don't care if you're in your 20s watching this or your 30s or your 40s. Have you started socking away money for retirement? Now, I'll get to why Napoleon Hill says the habit of savings is a law of success. Here's another one. How many Americans have less than $100 in savings, emergency savings? Here's the thing. Almost half of Americans would not be able to cover an unexpected expense of $500 or less. Almost a quarter, well, we already know that from the 26%, would not be able to cover even $100. An estimated 22.9% of men and 22.7% of women say they don't have at least, unlike this, a Benjamin in their emergency fund. A Benjamin, if I remember correctly, is a $20 bill. Next, how many Americans have less than $500 saved? Okay, so now we went from less than 100 to less than 500. Having $500 in the bank for emergency can give you a sense of financial security, but for 41% of adults, it's still a pipe dream. So 41% of adults don't have $500 saved for an emergency. Okay, now here's another one. What percentage of Americans have 3-month emergency fund? I know some of you are laughing hilarious. I mean, just cracking up for the 3 months. Saving 3 months worth of expenses is a lofty goal. Now, that's expenses. That's not your taxes and your Social Security tax and all of that. This is expenses. You know, rent, car note if you have one, electric, gas, those kinds of things. All right, in a survey when Americans were asked if they have 3 to 5 months emergency fund, they didn't even say, so 3 to 5 months, so 3 being minimal, just 17% say they do. And how many have 6 months worth of expenses? Looks like 23% of adults surveyed acknowledge having an emergency fund that could last them 6 months. And who is more likely to have an emergency fund? Age, income, and race play a huge part. 36% of retirees have a 6-month emergency account compared to 16% of 18 to 29-year-olds. 10% of college grads lack any certain savings versus 36% of those with a high school diploma or less. And I saw that 36% of, 10% of college graduates lack savings, and 36% of those with a high school diploma or less has one. So what would cause that? Well, the first thing I thought of is they're paying back their college loans, college debt, right? So those statistics are sad, and they've always said they were sad. And you go, okay, so what am I supposed to do? Well, 1928, they had the same problem, the same issue. But Napoleon Hill has a different take on why you need to save. It's not just for emergencies why you need to save and have a savings. But the key, now listen closely, the key to having savings is to start saving. And you go, but Bev, I don't have any money left at the end of the month. And I go, I understand that. So let me tell you a little story. I'll use the same thing that Napoleon Hill does. I'm going to tell you a little story. In the 1980s, all you know I'm old, so we're going to go beyond that. But in the 1980s, when they first introduced the IRA, now everybody, there's IRA, and there's a 401k. Now, today, everybody's listening about the 401k, but there's this thing out there called an IRA. You could put up to $2,000 a year in the IRA. Well, at that time, when they announced it, I was married, I had a baby boy, and a 9-year-old girl, right? We were buying a house, we had 2 car notes, we were living the dream, right? And I said, I need to start putting money in there, because it was tax deductible, right? And you could put money in. So, 1980, and I was making a very good salary working for IBM, but we were spending it. So I went to the credit union, and the credit union said, we're going to do the IRAs. I said, good. I want $20 a month put in my IRA automatically. So from my paycheck, I automatically deposit $20 a month into that IRA. Over the years, I did not increase it because the 401k came about. And at IBM, we could buy IBM stock at a discount. So I was automatically buying IBM stock. I was automatically putting 3% of my paycheck into a 401k as they became, well, as the 401k came into being. The stock was already being done. A certain percentage of my paycheck was going to stock. Now, that's a habit of savings. Now, I started that. My mother started it. When I first got my full job at IBM, when I was working summer, we were automatically saving because I was saving for college. But once I got my job, she took me to the bank. We opened for me a bank account and a savings account. And the first thing she said is, every pay, put $25 in that savings account. Every pay. So it was automatically put into my savings account. I automatically transferred from my checking account to my savings account, each pay $25. Now, at that time, I wanted to go do something. I'd go take my money out of the savings account. But the habit of savings began. And that's what Napoleon Hill says that. He says the saving of money is one of the essentials for success. He said, but the main thing he gets is, how can I do it? The saving of money is solely a matter of, capital letters, guys, HABIT, habit. right? So he said, I'm going to do a brief analysis of habit. So I started forming a habit. Well, my mother got me starting a saving of making habit, savings a habit by having me open that savings account. Now, even back then, which they don't do today, and they want you to use your credit card, they had Christmas savings accounts, and there was a little book that you'd go in and put in each week. You determine how much money you wanted for Christmas and for gifts and that kind of thing. So there was the Christmas savings account. If you wanted to go on vacation, there was a vacation savings account. And you had these little slips, and each month or each week you'd go in with $10, $20, $30. And when the time came, so let's say I open a vacation savings account right now, 1 year from now. So I'm saying I want to go on vacation next August. When I'm recording this, next August, I start putting money in, and automatically whatever money you saved in that savings account, you got a check in the mail or deposit it to your bank account. Most of the time it was a check in the mail that said, here's your vacation money. Same thing with the Christmas money. Forming a habit. So back then, in the olden days, you were encouraged to save. You were not encouraged because they didn't really have credit cards. The department stores had credit cards. Sears had a credit card. Marshall Fields had a credit card. Macy's, all of these department stores had credit cards. In fact, the little grocery store down the street from us, we had a credit account. My mother would say, go get some sugar. I'd go get sugar and put it on the bill. She'd pay when Dad got paid. But today, it's so easy to use your debit card or whip out that credit card. We want to get rid of that. Okay. So he says, it is literally true that man, through the law of habit, shapes his own personality. Through repetition, which is an act indulged in a few times, becomes a habit. Now, let me see. I don't know why my face always wants to itch when I'm on camera. Anyway, we're told it takes 14 days to form a habit. I don't believe that. You can form a habit like that when you make up your mind you're going to do something. So he said, once fixed in the mind, a habit voluntarily impels one to action. So he talks about you take to the same route to work every day. And after a while, and you know this, you get from point A to point B, and you go, did I go through a light? Did I do this? What happened? Okay? That's habit. Your subconscious mind takes over. Napoleon Hill talks about autosuggestion. Habit impresses on your subconscious mind that you want to do this, and it becomes automatic. Right? Now, here's why you want to form this habit of savings. He talks about the walls of limitation is built through habit. Millions of people, and I don't know if this is you. It might be. It might not be. Hopefully, if it is, you are here because you want to change. Millions of people go through life in poverty and want because they have made destructive use of the law of habit. So are you in the habit of being, well, I formed a habit for a while and had to get rid of it, being obsessed with YouTube channels, always watching to see what's next, versus using YouTube to learn, to get information. But you can have a habit for me. By the way, I haven't mentioned it. If you haven't, please subscribe, hit the bell, so you know when I'm coming out with additional videos. All right. Those who remain in poverty seldom realize that that they are where they are as a result of their own acts. Now, some of you are going, no, it's not my fault I lost my job. No, it's not my fault because I did this and that. And I go, be proactive and let's talk about it. Even if you lost your job, what have you done to find another one? Okay. And even if you was a high-paying job and you were having a hard time finding another high-paying job, have you found a temporary job? That'll help get gas, help pay with the rent, help whatever. I'm just asking the question. He goes on, he says, fix in your mind the thought that your ability is limited to a given earning capacity, and you will never earn more than that. Ready? Let me say that again. Fix in your mind the thought that your ability is limited to a given earning capacity, and you will never earn more of that because, ready? The law of habit will set up a definite limitation of the amount you can earn. Your subconscious mind will accept the limitation, and you will find yourself slipping until you finally become hedged in the fear of poverty. Now, he talks about forming that habit of saving does not mean that you will limit your earning opportunity. All right, so when you thoroughly understand the law of habit, you may ensure yourself success in the great game of money making. So here's how they tie together, right? The habit of savings and money making. All right. He says, you may ensure yourself success in the great game, right? First, through the law of definite aim, which I talked about with Edwin C. Barnes last time, in your mind, an accurate, definite description of that which you want, including the amount of money you want to earn. Okay. This habit will destroy your poverty consciousness and set up in its place a prosperity consciousness. And when I get more into Think and Grow Rich, we're going to talk about poverty consciousness and prosperity consciousness. You will actually begin to demand prosperity like that. You will begin to expect it. You will begin to prepare yourself to receive it and to use it wisely, thus paving the way or setting the stage for the habit of savings. I love this, right? Second, so first is definiteness of purpose. Second, having in this manner increased your earning power, you will make further use of the law of habit by provision. So in Think and Grow Rich, in chapter 2, we talk about your definite aim and writing down what you want. And so in this, he says that in your written statement of your definite aim for saving a definite proportion of all the money you earn, therefore, as your earnings increase, your savings will. Right? So when I was getting stock, it was a percentage of my income. When I finally joined the 401k, it was a percentage of my income. However, the IRA was a specific amount of money per month, which was $20 at that time. And I continued that $20 for 10 years, 12 years, till I left Pittsburgh and came to Dallas. And it had increased to over, what was it? I think it was over $2,000 or plus interest. So it had compounding interest and all that. Because you think about it, $20 a month is $240 a year. Really wasn't very much, but it was money that was accumulating. And just think, $20 a month, $240 a year. With that $240, I could handle a $100 emergency fund. Okay. Next, you got $480 plus interest. So I'm almost at that $500 emergency fund. Okay. So it's well over, so it was well over $3,000-4,000 by the time I decided to move it over into my 401k. I was able to switch it over. But that was a habit. I didn't miss the $20 a month. I didn't miss the percentage when I was buying stock. I didn't miss the percentage going into my 401k. Now, there were certain things that came up. I did borrow from my 401k, but this day, I wish I hadn't. I wish I'd used a different means, right? So, just teaching you a lesson that I learned, right? Okay, so you get in the habit of saving and you learn to save a percentage of your income. You are able to meet emergencies. And you go, but Bev, I got these bills. I got my college tuition that I have to pay back, my loans. Okay, so the same thing happens. You have a plan of how much you need to work to pay these off. You also will have a plan, even if it's $20 a month. I'm telling you, $20 a month into a savings account that you do not want to touch except for emergencies. You need a tire. You got money for it. You need to get a car repair if necessary. If you own a home, you're putting money away for repairs. The hot water heater. I recently lost my hot water heater. I had the money to write the check to get the hot water heater fixed because I put money away every month into a savings account for home repairs. You go, but how do you do that? Well, and this is not saying you are wrong. This is not saying that there's a problem. However, I don't go to Starbucks. I make my coffee. And I like my coffee black. When I go to work at Nebraska Furniture Mart part-time, I bring my coffee or my water bottle, and if I'm there and I have a lunch break, I take my lunch. I don't buy it. I can afford to buy my lunch. I can afford to go and buy coffee at Scooters, which is at the mart. And every now and then, if I finish up my coffee that I brought in my coffee cup, I may go buy a Scooters, right? But that's $2 once a month, okay, if I do that. If you take a look at your finances and how many times a week do you go out to eat? How many times do you buy ready-made salads or whatever? You can find money to save. So I'm just going to encourage you, $20 a month, actually 25. I'd rather you $25 a month. Find $25 a month that you can put in a savings account in a credit union or a savings loan. The interest might be a little bit more. Once you get to a certain amount, you can move it. There are some brokerage accounts, and you can do a money market fund or a mutual fund, and you take that money and put it in a mutual fund. You leave a certain amount in your savings account. So you leave, let's say, $500 in your savings account. Take $500 and find one of those accounts. You can start very small and start building your savings up that way. If your company where you're working offers a 401k and they match the first 1, 2, 3%, you're leaving money on the table. Automatically take out that 1, 2, 3% of your paycheck and just get in the habit of savings. The reason that he wants you to save and pay off your debt, right? I'm getting on to 30 minutes, so I need to cut this short. But the reason he wants you to save and pay off your debt is because you're a slave to your debt. He tells the story, and I'm going to find that story. I didn't highlight it, but it was a gentleman who worked for a printing firm. He saved $25 a month. Now, this is back in 1928. If they can save $25 a month in 1928 on a salary of $400, right? Because things didn't cost as much then, right? He could do that. What happened, he had accumulated $300. The printing company got in trouble. Now, $300 was a lot of money then. Printing company got in trouble. He talked to the owner. He became part owner of the business. Guy was smart, money-wise. Became part owner of the business. He took and started helping the owner get the finances together, get the printing company together. He owned 50% of the business. The business flourished, and he became a millionaire. If he hadn't had that $300, he wouldn't have been able to invest in that business. And he has several other examples in here of getting yourself free from debt, paying that off. He even has, he shows, he has a little table. Let's see if you can see that table. All right, the amazing way money grows. And this is $5 a month, $10 a month, $25 a month, right? How money grows. You can talk to your banker and say, how does money grow? Look up the rule of 72. Of course, savings accounts don't pay very much anymore. Now, and I'm going to give you one last example from him, and then I'm going to close up on this idea of savings. He shows a gentleman that makes $20 a month, right? $20 a month. And he goes on to say he spent 75, this is how much, a week. So he says, okay, cigarettes, 75 cents. Well, we laugh at that because a pack of cigarettes is $6, $7 now. That's a lot of money. Chewing gum, 30 cents. He did a lot of chewing gum. Soda fountain, $1.80. Cigars for associates, $1.50. Moving picture show. Now we know it's $9, right, to go to the movies. $1. Shaves, including tips, $1.60. Newspaper daily and Sunday was 22 cents, and shoe shines was 30. This was a total of $7.47. His room and board was $12, and he had 53 cents left at the end of the week. Well, as he said, he spent $7.47 per item, every one of which could have been greatly reduced. In fact, he talked about he could shave himself and shine his own shoes, right? That would have been $1.90. He says soda fountain, he didn't have to do that, right? But of that, he said he could take $5 a week, so he left him $2.47. But he could save $5 a week. Then he talked about his own wasted money that he did. But here's what he ultimately said, and I believe in the same thing. Generally speaking, a man who works for a salary should apportion his income about as follows. Savings account, 20%. Living, clothes, food, and shelter, 50%. Education, he's telling you to get some training, 10%. Recreation, 10%. Life insurance, 10%. That equals 100%. That's after taxes, right? But 20% for a savings account, 10% is still savings in education, and 10% on life insurance to take care of your family. So, you want to have money so that you are available to take care of emergencies, And if an opportunity comes to you to invest in a good proposition, not something fly by night, not something promising you'll be in your own business, and we'll talk about that another time. But wanting you to take the time to save. And I'm going to close with this, because I never ask you to do anything that I wouldn't do, that I haven't done, right? I talked about the $20 a month. I talked about a percentage taking, because I could buy stock, a percentage to go into my 401k. I've talked about savings for my home repairs, and I'm also saving in a different account for a vacation, right? In the late 80s, one of the things my ex and I used to do is we'd get so much stock, and then we'd take turns saying, okay, we're going to sell this much stock, but we were furnishing a home. We were, doing things around the house. I invested in a stock, and it helped us on a down payment on our second home. So those are those things. But I told him in 1988, we are no longer going to sell stock. We're no longer going to do this. From now on, every time we get a raise, we'll splurge the first 2 months, and then that raise goes into savings. Listen, because you will live all the way up to how much money you make if you allow it. But we were making good money together, and we were doing all the things other people do, right? Yeah, we were still able to take vacations and do that. But what I'm telling you is, and some of you said, but I'm not in that situation, but I'm telling you to get yourself in that situation. Every time we got a raise, that raise went into savings. We divorced in 2000, well, officially 2002. By the time I retired, because I continued that, I continued savings because I wanted a certain amount of money in my retirement fund when I left work. I continued every time I got a raise, I got a bonus, I got something. I increased the amount of money in my 401k. I made sure I maxed out on buying stock. I made sure I put money in a savings account for emergencies. By the time I left work, I was putting 35% of my pre-tax dollars in savings. You can do the same thing. You don't need all the latest clothes. You don't need the latest gadgets. You don't have to buy the latest phone. I've got an Android that is several years old. I don't need a new phone. I don't need the new gadgets. I don't need the latest camera that's on that phone, right? So look at your life and see where you can cut out unnecessary things. You don't, like I said, you don't need the latest gadgets. You don't need the newest outfits. In fact, we need to pare down what we have and live a little less ostentatiously, I want to say. Or I'm not a minimalist, totally. Oh, no. So I'm not a full minimalist, but I am living minimally. In other words, when I go splurge, I'm going to go splurge on a steak that I cook at home. I go out to eat every now and then with my friends, but that's not a habit for me. Okay. So the lesson, law of success, lesson 4, the habit of saving. If you would like me to make available, because let me tell you, see, this chapter is really big. Now, this is big print because, us old folks need big print. But this is 68 pages of information. I can get that Let me know in the comments below if you would like a copy of this, and I will figure out a way to get it so we can give you a downloadable copy of this particular chapter, right? Or you can go to Amazon or whatever and go find the book, The Law of Success by Napoleon Hill, written in 1928. Okay, this is Beverly Fells Jones, the Silver Fox of Consciousness. Please comment below, please subscribe, and I will see you again on the next Napoleon Hill. Manifesting Napoleon Hill. I'll get this thing right sooner or later. Manifesting Napoleon Hill Tuesday. Take care.